So, so let us start our journey. So we have been talking about and understanding that the first disease, emotional dependence on anything in the world, yes, here comes huh? Younger. So emotional dependence on anything which is not required in human life, and that emotional dependence causes a lot of challenges in our life. So that is the first disease, that we are always uncomfortable the moment we have an emotional dependence by and how we express I love you, what will happen to me if you are not there, when we our mind says soulmate, and when mind says soulmate, ah, you see the mind mind. So that is what we are understanding as a seeker. So here we should understand clearly that who decides my life and living. So that will also clarify our emotional dependence. Society for something like driving, family, relationship, uh, parents, education, friends, or only you. So there are many options. Who decides my life, my living? That is the another question asked by our master. Society, yes, for something, parents, education, or only you. Think of it. That will open up a Pandora box located inside your mind. Example, we become a doctor and a scammer. We become a doctor and also a giver to the society. What we are understanding? We are understanding who decides my life and living. Richest man can be a scammer and giver to the society, like Bill Gates, but his personal life may be worst. I'm asking who decides my life and living. We never think in this way. And when we do not think in this way, that gives you the problem. So, what is hidden inside is emotional dependence. Are you getting it? How that is how I'm linking it. Think of it. Contemplate and reflect. Who decides my life and living? Society, culture, religion, parents, friends, or you? Question is, who decides my life and living, day to day living? Society, culture, religion, parents, education, or you? I gave you a couple of examples. I don't want to talk of a couple of things, but it came to my mind. A doctor, we know the profession. So the doctor may become the scammer, and the doctor may become the giver. Richest man can be a scammer and can be a giver to the society. Huh? That is what we witness in day-to-day life. So I'm again asking, you have to contemplate on this question, that who decides my life and living? I'm a teacher. So my secondary nature, what is my secondary nature that I try to hide? And if I'm hiding something, it is because of emotional dependence. Then we are bound to suffer. Huh? That's what you know. Take over my dear friend example. Richest man, giver to the society, and personal life is. I'm talking about Bill Gates. Do you see that? But who is responsible for it? My secondary nature inside. And that is where the emotional dependence is there. Once we understand clearly, reflect on that, where my mind is going. In India, we say, I know that you take care of neighbors. Uh, That's a joke, and that's also a fact. The wife always complains to the husband, why you are paying too much attention to the neighbor's wife. It applies both ways. Sure. Does Shivani says anything? He is already in meditation. Emotional dependence. So first disease causes second disease, that is sorrow and the suffering. I want to be appreciated because of emotional dependence. I don't get an appreciation. Attachment always results in sorrow and the suffering. Attachment means emotional dependence. You are always open to fear, insecurity, conflict, and confusion. Do whatever you want. Dependence emotionally keeps mind away from my real self, my true nature, my own potential, my innermost resources. And that is the cause of my sorrow and suffering, and that is the second disease. Crush at first sight. I don't understand what is this. Love at first sight. And what happens in the second sight? So we don't think about. So non-thinking causes the attachment. Now we are going deeper. You all are seekers. Thank you for being a part of it. Some thoughts were coming early in the morning. I said, masters have written 3,000 texts. Same principles expressed differently. How many people treat the path? How many people become the seeker? How many people are looking for permanent peace and happiness? Everyone. But how many people sit down and want to understand? Going back, attachment, as I have been telling you again and again, emotional dependence, that is my secondary nature. Love is emotional freedom. Attachment is conditional. Love is unconditional. In emotional dependence, I add a value which is not there. I have seen many people, I know my honey has, I just met this guy who has a tremendous amount of stress. That is why I love him. What kind of a love? Attachment or emotional dependence veils our intellect, and in love it is fully expressed. Attachment is bondage, love is freedom. We depend on the world outside, is not permanent, causes fear, insecurity, duality, conflict, confusion. That becomes my secondary nature. And that is how I live my life. Third disease is that results into delusion. Ashok, you are okay? Okay.
So there's some NAT issue. I'm okay.
Okay. So, so two diseases leads to delusion. What is delusion? Simple thing. Intellect is not working properly. Right. That is what the delusion is. That causes the misunderstanding. When these two diseases are present in the mind, we cannot take a right decision. But if we take a decision that is wrong, and sometimes our mind takes over the intellect and it says what it says, what is right is wrong, and what is wrong is right. Ah, you loved me so much, but why don't you love me now? See the statements. See the statements. Relationship is different. Due to delusion, new attachment, new level of emotional dependence arises. Cycle continues, and we suffer from the three diseases. We continue to suffer. I have already told you that we have many research papers published. Those who have chronic mental illness, they don't recognize these three diseases. But because of these three diseases, you have 3,000 psychological disorders. So I'm just comparing the two. So those people whose mind is constantly moving into these three diseases, they are constantly thinking in a wrong direction. Their IQ level goes up. If you have not heard from me, I'm again, and you can find out. So one woman was there with me, and now she's pregnant, so she stopped private lessons. So she is very particular. She said how it is possible because she had a chronic, some mental disorder. So I told her that there are more than 100 research papers published. Those who suffer from chronic mental illnesses have 70% higher IQ than average healthy person. Well, I'm constantly thinking of that dependence, wrong delusion. It creates a cycle. So once we contemplate and reflect, it is possible to get rid of it. Emotional dependence is last time we discussed that it is a weakness of the mind. It leaves me frustrated almost 24 by 7. Our master says self medication will destroy you. Do you remember what I told you? Self medication. Let me take a drink. Why I am frustrated. Drugs, reaction. So when I am constantly, don't talk to me. I am upset. You are upset with someone and you are saying to your own friend. You see, you destroy your relationship. Reaction, blame, hesitation. These people think a lot. More thinking in the wrong direction creates a cycle. Self-medication is not helpful. That is why we also say that visit to a doctor, you have some problem. Self-medication includes irritation, remain angry, upset, reaction. Vodka becomes our friend. Our master Krishna, who is the founder and the originator of the Eastern wisdom, he summarizes this in 3 words: desire for emotional dependence outside, fulfilled, cycle continues, because I want more, and I want more, I want more. And if desire is not fulfilled, I get frustrated. So he explains totally in a different way. He says, desire for physical dependence. Yes, I have to depend on my food. We all have to depend on the physical food, shelter, clothes. That desire is okay. But desire for emotional dependence causes frustration, or a cycle continues. So the solution says, free yourself from these 3 doors to hell. Krishna says this. I have to get rid of, these are the 3 doors to hell. Don't start thinking hell of the religion. We are not talking of religion. Hell in Eastern wisdom says that every day you wake up, you find unfavorable condition, anxiousness, being upset, getting irritated, even on something that is right, is what is hell. Who is responsible for putting us into hell? That not for me, Christina. Okay. So see that, look at this. Freedom from these 3 factors. Now that is why now you can understand. I am single, emotionally seeking emotional dependence to be happy. So getting married and still emotional dependence cycle continues. So I am upset, getting divorced, to remarry again, cycle. One example. You can apply this example to anything. So now come to the little deeper. Do I desire to be happy from outside, or do I want to remove my unhappiness? Did you see the difference between the two? Do I desire to be happy from people and the objects outside, or do I want to remove unhappiness in life? Make a choice. Example. My mind, emotional dependence, it says that this object will bring me happiness. So first examine whether this object contains happiness or not. Then take a step. So simple. Isn't it? So simple. So crush at first sight, very good. Second step. Ask him or her, are you an epitome of happiness and peace? Then I will be with you. Now, I'm just separating. Relationship is different. So that we will talk later. So when you are going to buy a shirt, ask the shirt, will you give me happiness? And your mind drops the emotional dependence. There and then, break the cycle. Break the cycle. Do you understand that? It means I have to live from a moment to moment. Understand that any object, anything, you want to buy a car, buy it. Go for it. Master is not saying become a monk, go to the Himalayas and sit there and dream of the same emotional dependence there. No. Live your life fully. Pleasure? Okay. Understand that this is only pleasure, short lived, and this will come and go. Something came up to my mind. Perhaps I talked about it. Did I talk about the boy was swimming, holding onto a log of wood? That is what he understood. It's a log of wood, so he was hanging on to the log of wood and he was swimming. After some time, he finds that log of wood is holding him. He also realized that log of wood has hands and feet. Oh my God, it was a alligator. This emotional dependence is an alligator. Did you understand this? First, I depend, and then they say, okay, you are depending on me. Let me show my hands and the legs. Mind starts making fun of us. Can you make fun of your own mind? Emotional dependence is gone. That is the way to work on the mind. Are you getting it? So I believe you will remember that crocodile or an alligator. The moment I have an anxiety, upset, reaction, insecurity, and fear, crocodile is holding you, embracing you, hugging you. Otherwise, there is no reason to be sad. You all are seekers. I appreciate that. Sure, alligator, and that alligator is present in my head. Dukkham, dukkham, dukkham. Buddha says, Dukkham, dukkham, dukkham. Dukkham means sorrow, sorrow, sorrow. Why? Crocodile. But recognize anityam, anityam, anityam. This dependence is momentary, momentary, momentary. Third, anityam. No, anityam means unreal, unreal. This emotional dependence is unreal. My mind imposed on the object, on a person, on a thing. And the third, then Buddha says, he says just four. You remember the four things. Life will be very smooth. First is dukkham, dukkham, dukkham. The world that I created, the universe I created, last time we discussed, the universe that I created because of these three diseases is made up of sorrow, suffering, dukkham, dukkham, dukkham. And it is recognized, it is unreal, it is unreal, it is unreal. Anityam, anityam, anityam. Her line, recognize. I have to think in my mind. Normally what happens, no, I'm living in a house and I will, in India, it's very common. I will go to the Himalayas. So what you will do in the Himalayas? Your crazy mind goes also there. So I have to think. Anityam, 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 unreal, unreal, unreal. Third point, kshanikam, kshanikam, kshanikam. This emotional dependence, when you recognize, it is simply momentary. Momentary. If I contemplate and reflect, momentary. The cycle breaks down. And now you already know that Buddha said the fourth word, shunyam, shunyam, shunyam. Shunya means emptiness, emptiness. Mind is empty, and that reflects our true nature. That reflects our true. Step by step, we are going deeper. Recognize that in your head. Make your mind clear. Allow the intellect to work on the mind. And then ask the mind how many thoughts you have. You don't have a single thought. You will be totally absorbed into meditation. With humility, readiness, a sense of egolessness required to treat the path. That they are the qualities of a seeker. We discussed about it, fourfold practices, discernment and dispassion, and six treasures. So whenever you have a time, just remember this. Last point, and then we understood that three diseases caused by the 8 factors that I discussed. Eastern wisdom has a remedy. Depending on the level, intensity of a seeker, and the severity of a disease. You have created a cycle in your mind. Only I want, I love this guy, I love this guy, I love this guy. And that guy is nowhere available. Emotional dependence. You don't listen to the teacher. So a strong vaccination is required. Now we have started with a booster shot also. So those people will not listen. Do you recognize one beautiful woman was in a session perhaps a couple of months ago? No, I'm not getting the experiences everyone is getting, hence I'm leaving. Leave it. You need a very strong vaccination, so you should continue the journey, but you don't want to continue. So what should I say? So, like a scientist, we don't force anyone. That is our journey. We don't force it. You don't like it's okay. Medium vaccination, if we are ready, a normal vaccination will work. The next step comes that what is the way of living my life? I have some goals. I have to make some effort, and I have to achieve success. That we will take up in the next lesson. Let us start our journey of so-called practice.